Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about some Melt Cosmetics products, including the latest eyeshadow palettes from the Amore and Vida collection, as well as the reason behind it, which was why when I went to a store and I compared it with the Norvina palettes and noticed that there was a lot more glitter inside these Melt Cosmetics eyeshadow palettes. So I want to also compare those, and also I wanted to look at some other products from Melt, like their pencils. But before that, I hope that you're subscribed. So if you want to be entered into monthly giveaways this month, I am giving away the Divine Rose palette by McGrath, so make sure you're subscribed to be entered in that. So moving on to these Melt eyeshadow palettes, they are magnetic, so you can't clip them together from the wrong side, but once you place that skeleton shape together, magnetize together, it won't magnetize from the other side. So I noticed that was a fun fact about these palettes, is they are meant to be a duo together and they complement each other's colors. First, let's talk about the Amor Eterno palette, Muerte colors. So the first shade is called Angelito, and that's the only metallic shade in there. A lot of people seem to be getting hard pan with this first shade, and all you have to do is place some tape on it for it to come off. As you can see, the other shades are kind of they're not consistent. You see that you have to really take out a lot of product to be able to get a smooth consistency with the shades, and so they come out a little bit patchy. Also, it's worth noting that the first ingredient listed on the back of the package is mica. I don't see any talc, but I do also see some dimethicone, so if you have allergies to dimethicone, this might not be the right palette for you. And also that one shade with the blue glitter inside it, I'm not a huge fan of, because in general mattes with glitter inside, I don't really find them easy to work with, but I've seen a lot of YouTubers pack them on. Now next, what I want to do is compare it to the James Charles palette. I don't know why I picked this palette, but it seemed to be the most colorful palette, and I did a rainbow palette comparison a couple of months ago, so it's one of my pigmented rainbow palettes. So comparing them side by side, there's no dupes necessarily for all the colors. In fact, I find that there's only a few colors that can really be duped, and a lot of the other colors don't really show up, like the black and there in the James Charles palette, but you don't see all the other colors. Also, it's worth noting that the James Charles palette has talc listed in the ingredients, whereas the Melt one doesn't have talc. The Melt one, in my opinion, more popping colors and more bright colors compared to the James Charles palette. Another difference is the James Charles palette doesn't have the dimethicone that the Melt Cosmetics has. My favorite thing about the Muerte palette, though, is that it has that one shimmery green there that you really can't find in other places, but I will compare it to another palette in a moment as well. Just so far, I've only been able to dupe 4 or 5 shades from the James Charles palette, and they're not even close dupes. So I will say that the Muerte palette is pretty unique, and I do like it for those greens that people seem to be putting in their inner corners a lot for some reason, because it's a lighter shade. Now, moving on to the next Melt Cosmetics palette. This one is called the Vida palette. Before I jump into the colors, there's a very important warning on the back of this package that the other one didn't have. It says that this is not approved by the FDA and Melt Cosmetics for the use of the eyes, and the other one doesn't have this warning. So usually eyeshadow palettes will tell you not approved by the FDA, but this one says and Melt Cosmetics. So I don't know how they can call it an eyeshadow palette if it's not even approved by them for the use of the eyes, and really what's going on with this palette. But as far as the colors themselves, they are super pigmented, super bright, and if I had to choose between the two, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you guys right now, these colors are just stunning. They have these unique colors that I don't even think the James Charles palette is going to come close with these, especially that one green. This is the one green that everybody seems to be having an issue with, a lot of hard pan with this. So I will be comparing this. See how beautiful the pans colors translate exactly to what it is. So comparing it to the James Charles palette, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna find some definitely some more rainbow colors that are similar to this than the Muerte palette. However, I don't think I'll find that shiny green at all. So there you have it right off the bat. That green does not compare to the one in the Vida palette. The reds are definitely comparable with both palettes. Orange one with James Charles, a little bit more bright. Definitely have some nice browns in both palettes. Now I may not find that light bright yellow green color because it's either yellow or green with James Charles. It's definitely missing that nice lime green that the Melt Cosmetics has. They do have some little micro glitters in the Melt Cosmetics, and that's what really sets them apart from the Norvina palettes, which I talked about earlier in this video. I will say that with the James Charles palette, you don't get as much of a spectrum as you would get with the Melt palettes. Another palette I wanted to compare with that I picked up earlier this year is the Viseart Dark Edit palette. Viseart palette retails for $39, close to $40 compared to the Melt one, which is like $58, $60. So it costs about a fraction of the price, and I wanted to see side by side if this one is more worthy of buying than the Melt Cosmetics palette. Now right off the bat, this green has a nice, really nice shimmer metallic compared to the Melt Cosmetics one, and that's the closest I've seen a green. The other colors aren't super comparable to the Melt Muerte palette. In fact, they don't even come as close. Like, you don't get those dark blacks or reds, but that one green though, it is just everything, and it just, the sparkle and the shine on it is just amazing because you're buying this for the fraction of the price, and I don't see any warnings on there. Comparing it to the Melt Vida palette, you definitely get more muted colors. Like, they're definitely not going to be as bright as the Melt Cosmetics one, just because I feel like this Viseart palette is more designed for fall colors in general. And I will say that between the two, if you're just looking for that nice rainbow and you don't want to spend that much and get a palette that has a warning on it about don't put it on your eyes, you get the Viseart. But if you want those bright popping colors and you don't care about that safety, then get the Vida palette. The Muerte palette, really the most redeeming color is the green, and you can definitely find that nice shine in the Viseart. Now funny story, when I was at a Sephora, the rep was telling me to pick up Norvina instead of any Melt Cosmetics palette, not just because the Melt ones are in general a little bit more glittery if you look at them with a close eye, but also because in the past there was some rumors about mold in the past, but I don't know if that's still true about current. Anyway, moving on to another Melt Cosmetics product I wanted to review was their pencils. I am not a huge fan of this one already because the bright color, it's not as bright as, for example, my Urban Decay Game of Thrones palette that I was able to pick up earlier this year. And I think while their products are very creamy, they're definitely not super unique, and that's why maybe Sephora or other places don't necessarily carry them. I was lucky because a friend of mine didn't want hers, but overall I still think that the Urban Decay one, I think the Urban Decay one was better choice for a pencil. Now between the two palettes, you might be asking me which one did I prefer, and I'm curious to know which one you guys will be picking up, but I personally like the Vida palette more because it was more colorful. Anyways, as always, thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to be entered into monthly giveaways. Let me know in the comment section below which one you liked, and I will see you guys next time.